Ooh, so here's a good question. Life is, or not a question, fill in the blank. Life is hard. Life is easy. Life is crazy. Life is simple. Life is joyous. Life is delicious. Life is horrendous. Life is sad. Life is horrible. Life is, you get to fill in that blank. How are you going to fill in that blank? Hello, world. It's Barbie Lee. And I have a little tickle in my throat. Traveling does that. I was in a conference for 5 days, and I was in the convention, like in the hotel, and air conditioning and forced air, and anyways, cheering. Anyways, so this is what I affectionately call my 1-900 voice. It's a very sexy voice. So how do you look at hard? Or how do you look at life? Do you say it's hard? Do you say it's easy? Like, what really shows up for you? Let's get a better background. There we go. And it's all a choice. It's everything you choose. So I'm watching a video this morning, and a lady was like, nobody told you that just dinner would be soul-sucking. Every day as a mom, I wake up and go, what am I making for dinner? Everyone always asks, what's for dinner? Every single day. It never changes. And she's like, it's like, no one told me what a kick in the tit this would be. But I'm kind of chuckling. But you know what? It's true. Dwayne and I have conversations all the time about, what are we having for lunch? What are we doing for snacks? What are we doing? And we were just talking about this morning about, looking at our days and planning our days so that I can better plan my exercise. Like, it even comes down to how I plan my exercise in the morning and what I'm going to eat that day based on the activities that I'm doing that day. And it takes a lot of work. Like I'm not going to say it's hard, but it takes work. It takes conscious effort to have this easy life. I heard a quote years ago, and I don't know who said it first, but I think I heard it from Harv Eker. And it said, if you do the things that are hard now, life will be easy later. Something to that effect. And I was like, okay, like what? And it was things like taking care of your health when you're young. Because as you age, it's harder to get back your health or to get to optimal health when you're older and already sick. I'm like, okay, that makes sense. Financially, if you in your 30s, 20s, 30s, and 40s made money to take care of you in your 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, life is easier. But I met a lady in the what airline was it? Delta. She's a 71-year-old flight attendant with Delta. 71. She had retired, and then she got a divorce, had no money, and had to go back to work. And I'm like, wow, I don't want to be that at 71. Like, will I still be working and stuff? Sure, I'll be doing the things that I want to do and love to do. But do I have to do them? Oh, hell no. I'm not going to set my life up that I have to do, like I have to work in my 70s, right? I'm changing that today. So I'm doing things that are hard, what I think might be hard today. But if I think, oh my God, if I wait till I'm 70 to figure that piece out, it's going to be hella hard. You know what I mean? So there's some things in my life that are pretty easy, like what? What's easy for me? Well, being sweet and kind and loving and, pouring love on people, that's so easy for me, right? Sometimes, what else? I'm trying to think. And there's things that, and I don't have to get into my day-to-day specifics and all that. But there are things that, I go in my mind, oh yeah, I just do that. That's not a problem. I can just do that. Like having my shake, it's something I do. And I know how it feeds me, and I know how it takes care of me. And then because I do these shakes, I get to have an online business, and you know what I mean? It makes everything else easier. Making a decision to say yes to Isagenix made our food so much easier, like truthfully. Because we don't have this, what are we having for breakfast? What are we having for lunch? What are we having for dinner? We already know our breakfast is our shakes already. It's advanced decision making. It made our mornings easier. Do you get that? And knowing we have a system and a community of love and support. It makes our future easier. It made moving to Mexico easier because I already had an online income. So decisions that I made 20 years ago that seemed hard, right? To start a network marketing business, to leave my teaching, that seemed hard at the time. But now, oh my gosh, it just made things easier. So think about the things that even today, and it doesn't matter at what age you are today, but what can today you do that might be a little hard that tomorrow you will really appreciate? So things like, I was talking a lot, so this last 5 days, talking to a lot of women. We were just having, women conversations that we were doing about perimenopause or menopause, or even just being on their cycle, and just as women do. We talk about everything. If you've ever been in a women's bathroom, you'll have no idea what goes on, right? But we'll talk about anything. And it was interesting because one of the girls that was there, she started her period. She's like, oh, I'm early, blah, blah, blah. I wasn't supposed to get it till Monday. And she was all, up in arms. And I said, well, sweetheart, I said, I don't get my cycle. I don't have my period anymore. I'm into menopause now. And I said, it's a whole other handful of fun, I said with sarcasm. And I said, so there's always going to be something within your woman's cycle or lack of cycle. And I said, and if you're upset and angry, I said, that's like 25% of your life right now. Because for 1 week, every month, so 7 days out of 28 days, a woman has her period. And if she's angry at her body and, I'm like, you better learn to love it now. Because she's like, I don't know, 23, 24. I'm like, because you're going to have it till you're 50. So you might as well become friends with it. And 2 other women goes, God, I wish I got that advice 10 years ago. But that's the piece. What do we think is hard today that if we deal with will make the rest of our days easier? I read a beautiful book called The One Thing. And someone can look it up and post below who actually wrote it, but I can't remember. I just remember it had a blue cover. So The One Thing. And the premise of this book was, what's the one thing that you can do today to make all else easier or irrelevant? And I really loved that perspective, because life can be hard. Damn straight it can be. Sometimes we have to learn new things. A couple years ago, when I started having all these symptoms that I did not know were related to the spectrum of menopause, it was hella hard. I went to doctors, and it was just crazy. It was a crazy time. But now that I have that information, life is easier. I can understand my body better. I can understand how my mind works. It doesn't make it easier. It makes my life a little bit easier because I understand. And that's what I'm talking about. If we choose hard today, tomorrow is likely easier. So you get to choose. So this woman talking about, dinner on Instagram is like, oh, it's like a kick in the tit. Every day I have to think about food. Well, guess what? You have to think about food every day. And if you don't think about food every day and you just start ordering randomly, you still have to decide who you're ordering from. And you still have to decide if you're going to eat. They're like what you're going to eat, so then who you're going to order and how much you're willing to spend. Like there's still a hell of a lot of decisions to be made. So what if, like with my family, we were really busy when the kids were younger. They were out 4 days a week, weekends with cadets, biathlon, whatever it was. Like we were just a very busy family. And so we had menus, and we had the menus based on the activities of the day. I remember there was a time Taylor Ray was in the back of the minivan getting out of her volleyball clothes, eating lentil tacos out of a bowl that I had prepared for her. And then when she was done that, changing into her cadet uniform because we were on our way to cadets. Sometimes that has to happen, because kids are busy. They get into things. And then as adults, what happens? You know, I hear people that say, oh, I just had cereal for dinner last night because I couldn't be bothered to cook. And I was like, okay, as long as that's not an everyday occurrence, you know, it's okay once in a while. But what are you doing today that might be a little hard to make sure your life is easier? This is why my business is called Quality of Life Assurance. Because when you join me in Isagenix, not only do you get to choose, you know, make some predetermined decisions, I help you work on these things. I help you figure out menus for your life and how you're doing your finances and where your faith lies and where you can let go of things and grab onto things. And, you know, it's a whole thing. It's not just buy some shakes from Barbie Lee. This is a whole experience with me because I know that when your life is easier and you're like, oh, the shakes make it easier, or oh, the vitamins make it better, or oh, the collagen makes my skin feel better, you know, whatever it is, I know you're going to keep ordering the products and I'm going to keep serving you and we're both going to have a better quality of life. And that's why I stick around and do it. That and, you know, many other reasons, but that's a really big one. So you get to choose if life is hard or life is easy. And it's all a choice. So if you think about something that's hard in your world right now, and you go, well, how did I get here? How did this become hard? You know? Why is this so hard? So maybe it's, let's talk about food, because that's an easy one that, you know, we can all relate to because we all have to eat, right? So if I look at food and I say, okay, oh my God, I hate planning what we're having for lunch. Oh my God. What if you sit down, you write down all the things you love for lunch, dinner, breakfast, whatever it is, make a very long list of things and include the places you like to go out for lunch or order in for lunch, and make that list and then say, okay, there's, you know, let's say you put 20 things on the list. Guess what? That's almost a month. You could have a different thing every single day for 20 days. And you put it into a little schedule. Like we literally had an Excel spreadsheet. Okay, this is one of my tips that usually I reserve for when somebody joins me in Isagenix, but I'm going to give it to you because I love you. So we wrote down as a family all the things we liked for lunch and dinner. And usually when the kids were in school and stuff, lunch was left over dinner was quite often, but sometimes it was separate. So we all wrote down everything we loved. Then my job as the mom, because I was the one that did the grocery shopping and everything, I kind of split it into kind of categories of, okay, I need a lot of cheese for these things, so maybe we'll do cheese this week or near the end of this week into that week so that I don't have, you know, stuff rotting in the fridge. So I tried to make sure that everything, you know, the things that I had to buy, you know, would go together. So in the week that we would have, let's say, a stir fry with all kinds of veggies, we would probably have a fajitas or something also that week, because then I could just buy a bunch of vegetables and I just did it once, you know? And then I'd have the menu. And then, you know, when I make whatever, I don't know. And so you have to think about what you make and how to make the leftovers. Okay, so I'll give you an example. So even for Dwayne and I, we make a menu. I came home from LA and he goes, okay, here's our menu for the next 5 days. I'm like, fantastic. So yesterday he made this big, day before yesterday, he made this big pan of lentils, right? Why did he make so much? Because we had lentils in this potato roll wrappy thing that he was making. And we're going to do lentil tacos, I think today or tomorrow. I don't know. But he made them all in advance because he was making lentils anyways. And now they're there and now they're ready for when we have lentil tacos. And that's the difference, because if he would have just planned one day to make lentils in these potato wraps and then 3 days later said, oh, I should make lentil tacos, he's like, oh, I have to make lentils again. But he already did. Do you know what I mean? Like by planning ahead and doing those things. Now, take it one step further. When I was planning for the kids and the family on an Excel spreadsheet, so I had it, you know, listed down. And I only used Excel because it has boxes. And So I had Monday through Sunday, right, written down. But on the bottom, I wrote down everything I needed for that day. Everything. So I didn't write it in hand. I typed it in because I'm doing this in Excel. So imagine this. Every Sunday when husband's like, yep, I remember those menus. I still have them on my computer, by the way, in case anybody wants a sample. And I would put everything from salt, pepper, cayenne pepper, eggs, like whatever we were eating, it would be listed in there. So then Sunday, I would print off that menu. Now you're going, holy shit, Barbie Lee, that's a lot of work. It was. To get that done, it probably took me months of figuring things out, putting the foods together, making sure that the kids, you know, everybody got at least 2 things they wanted in that week. You know, that was a lot of freaking work. And don't think we were so rigid that if something came up, we couldn't switch days, because we could, because everything was in the fridge for the entire week, right? Because I'd go grocery shopping and get everything. So here's where it became easy. On Sunday, or whatever day I was going grocery shopping, I would print that menu. I would go into my kitchen and I'd be like, salt, I have it. Pepper, I have it. And I would cross it off the list. Oh, I have eggs. Do I have enough? Yeah, I have enough eggs. And I literally went through the menu for that week, and what would have a list of 100 different things, maybe not that many, but it could be if I'm using many spices, I might have a grocery list of 15 things. Instead of opening my cupboards and saying, oh, what don't I have? I looked on my menu and said, what do I need to get? Boom, I'm in and out of the grocery store in 30 minutes. I didn't have to think about it. And we did that for years. Like years. Probably, I don't know, when I realized I should be doing this was probably I think it probably started when they started junior high, because we had like sports and cadets and all that kind of stuff. So I'm going to say that. No, you know what? We did it when we were on the road trip because we had to. That's right. So when we took our road trip when they were in the 3rd and 6th grades, I had to, because we had to know how much food we needed for until our next stop, right? Until we could stop and do this again. So I've been doing it probably since 2007. So am I really good at it now? Yeah. So my challenge to you, and this is a much longer Shake Talk than I expected, but there's some good info in here, so I might chop it up. So my challenge to you is, what can you do today that might seem to you that's hard? Meaning, maybe it's starting Isagenix. Please start Isagenix with me. Please join my community. Please understand your quality of life is so important. And it might be starting Isagenix with me. It might be starting your menu. It might be, I don't know, getting up and learning about exercises before you actually start them. I don't know, there's all kinds of things. But when you join me in Isagenix, I help you out with this, just so you know. So you get to decide, is life easy or hard? Cheers.